Hello and welcome everybody to the 8th annual Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate Commencement event. It's amazing to think that we've had 8 Youth Poet Laureates in the history of this program, and we're honored to be here today on this Juneteenth. We like to start off all of our events with a poem, so I really want to just get into it. We have 18 of some of the most incredible young poets that you've ever seen performing today, and at the end we'll get to learn who the 2021-2022 Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate is. But to start us off, we have a very special guest. The Hampton Roads, Virginia Youth Poet Laureate was actually commissioned by the U.S. State Department to create a special poem in honor of Juneteenth, and it's our honor to open up this event with her poem. So please welcome Ayanna Askew.
Hello, my name is Ayanna, and I will be speaking a poem. It's entitled Invisible Freedom. I once read that hope is the thing with feathers. Its resilience is able to weather life's storms, the waves that form and come crashing on African shores, sweeping us away into the ocean of sorrows, created by the salty tears of our ancestors, by the incessant rain of the white man reigning supreme, but somehow, instead of drowning, they treaded on their hopes and their dreams as they journeyed to America. Their crowns of royalty became crowns of thorns. Their broken backs became America's backbone. Taken from their home and thrown into bondage was Kome. 18 years old, 59 inches, arrived in 1819 on the slave ship Juanita. Jose, a little girl only 24 inches tall, a little baby still learning to crawl. History was not written in stone, which is why the grave stones were often unmarked. It was written in the scars of bodies used as whipping posts, found in the blood shed on American soil. They try to white out our history, but the truth will always bleed through. They can't erase pain because it was never written in pencil. But we must not only remember the pain, we must remember the strength. We must remember the thing with feathers that reminds us that after a storm comes a calm. After a day, the sun will peep through the clouds, shedding light on our future. Hope became an eternal flame, sparked by the heart freedom song sung despite captivity, sparked by June 19th, 1865, when Texas ended slavery and all enslaved people were free, sparked by the shouts of Jubilee echoing across the United States of America, sparked by the strength and the resilience that it took for Harriet Tubman's feet to go from running from slave masters to walking into freedom, sparked by Phyllis Wheatley's words setting the stage for me to walk on. But like Minister Louis Farrakhan said, emancipation is freeing a bird into America's cage, but hope is the explanation for why the caged bird still sings, why the grass can push its way through the concrete, why the blues was born through the bellies of sadness, and why I, a Black girl, can live in the world freer than they could ever imagine. I once read that hope is the thing with feathers that is able to weather life's storms. So on this Juneteenth, look down and see that we stand on the wings of phoenixes. And even in the midst of our Jubilee, let's be grounded in the roots of history and not wait for freedom to be bestowed, but rather to bestow upon ourselves the true freedom of our mind, spirit, and body. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayanna. Hi all, happy Pride and happy Juneteenth. I'm Candace Wingy Mack. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I manage system-wide team services at the Los Angeles Public Library. Welcome everyone. As Michael said, 2021 marks the 8th year that Los Angeles Public Library has been proud to partner with Urban Word LA on this event. And we're even prouder to be celebrating Pride and our newly nationally recognized holiday of Juneteenth with you all today. We cannot wait to continue celebrating poetry and storytelling with all of you, and especially our young artists. So without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce our next speaker, Commissioner Guadalupe Montaño. Dr. Guadalupe Montaño serves as president of the LA County Commission on Human Relations. She also teaches in the Chicano Studies Department at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills.
Thank you so much. Thank you on behalf of the County Commission on Human Relations, on behalf of the County of Los Angeles. Welcome. Thank you for inviting me again. This is one of my favorite events ever. I look forward to hearing from everybody. And the 2021-2022 Youth Poet Laureate will be the start of the next John Anson Ford Awards for our commission. So it is my honor to introduce the MC for today's event and a wonderful poet in their own right. Arlene Campa is a textile and fibers artist, community organizer, and poet who is interested in exploring and manifesting communities that are centered in joy, justice, and empathy. They are the 2020-2021 Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate, a fierce advocate for arts education, equity, and arguably Bad Bunny's biggest fan. Their work has been published in magazines and journals across the country, including the United Voices of Peace Project, which distributed 55,000 physical copies of an artistic zine worldwide. Please welcome Arlene Campa.
Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here with you all today for this wonderful event. Before we get started, we would like to acknowledge the Tongva peoples as the traditional land caretakers of the Los Angeles Basin and Southern Channel Islands, and are grateful to have the opportunity to work at the sacred site of Puvunga. We pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and our relatives' relations past, present, and emerging. So I am so grateful to be your host. Like I mentioned, we have a wonderful lineup of poets for you all today. So the way that it's going to work is we'll bring up our first round of poets. We have a super special surprise for you all in the middle, and then we'll bring up our second round of poets, and we will then announce our finalists. We are all finalists here. We will announce our runners up and our winner. So without further ado, I would like to bring up our first poet, Allison Armillo. Allison Armillo is a member of Right Girl LA and is connected to the TV and film as a writer for New Scene magazine, as well as through El Segundo TV. So without further ado, Allison, you have the floor.
Awesome, thank you so much. So this poem is untitled, it does not have a name, but here we go. Pornography drips from the ceiling, and I pick words from the cherry tree that you tie into knots with your tongue. Is this what champagne feels like? Alcoholic conversations absorbing the compost of their own fruition. We slip in and out, up and down, constantly. Semantics tiptoe on our teeth. I've spilled the wine, and you wipe the carpet while I weep loudly. Such consciousness has never been written into words, only cataloged through movement. My walk is democratic, bleaches steps on the concrete, on the dirt and gravel, on the flower stems and waxing petals. But I look up momentarily to cry for the stars and the clouds, and mediation finds a big concrete couch we can sit on in the park. Waterfall conversations defy gravity, bleeding up into the sky. I think I can fit the whole family if we try. I feel drugged. Don't you feel funny? I feel like brave is a funny word. Transition. If you write odes to words, you're writing odes to flowers and bees and foot fungus. You are widowing your senses, leaving them hollow on a doorstep. They shiver. They are forced to revel far too deeply in the madness of what you never would have been able to find, what you never will find, when you search for phrases in the bottom of a vase and smell the dirt with your ankles. They vacillate between being seen and heard, these words, humanizing themselves and garnering this absolutely terrific autonomy. That's it. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. The chat is going off in our Zoom. And for those of you watching on the YouTube live, feel free to drop some comments and some praises for our poets. So without further ado, our next poet is Giovanna Tenku. Giovanna Tenku is a participant at Get Lit and Peace Over Violence and the school's Black Student Union Club president. So I'll give it up to you, Giovanna.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. Of course, the poets that came before me and the poets that'll go after. The name of this poem is called Survivor's Guilt. And I won't find a home back east, at least not the one that's 35 cents a day and built by white saviors. No, a home back east isn't my shriveled up Uruguay and first generation self bred out of too much fortune, never knowing a suffering that hasn't engulfed me, the one I escaped without the memories. It's better to see Africa as motherland and birthright. Know the story so well, I can play the compass resting away in a colonizer's ship and see battered men searching for gold and black death and refuse to give them the kingdom that I'll never own. I try to remember where I was crafted, but I can't track all the pieces. The glazed glass, tick spaces painted on culture. Every tongue I know has been shoved down my throat. The price of being raised by a forced on religion is you never know how prayer is supposed to fit. And I've given nothing to earn my breath. Walk on turned in knees, sickling to match pale footsteps. And I know my family through WhatsApp calls broken up from their bad connection and all of my privilege. I'm a byproduct of a Black man seeking asylum. My arrow swinging mad with no direction, finding safety from homeland invasions and these manifest madness, leaving behind danger to live on the bones of those who couldn't escape it. My cousins are born out of dust floors and lopsided concrete. They'll never know the walkways we lie on, but they go to school with their braided heads and speak back to me all I've forgotten. And what am I, if not lucky to share blood with sons cultivated in folktale, daughters who steal their grandmother's silks, wear hard kabaz loosely fit to match the material wrapped around their heads. And I don't feel pity for this, just envy. I'm not proud to be opportunity if it means being a descendant of strangers I can't talk to without translator. And I'm not sure if I'm the survivor, but I hold all of this guilt and none of the struggle and none of the people. And I don't know about the continent that began my journey. So I ask her, haven't they stolen enough of your children? And she says, didn't you want to be taken to? Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Giovanna, for such a breathtaking piece and an amazing delivery. Yes, we're going to turn it over to our next poet now, Jasmine Hoya. Jasmine Hoya is a Right Girl member and works with her school's activist club, Royalty, as well as a president of Teen Court. So Jasmine, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. The last two poets you guys did so good. So this poem is called Yo Soy. I am a girl with brown, tan skin and thick, dark brown hair gifted to me by my indigenous ancestors from both Mexico and El Salvador. I am from Santa Elena, El Salvador, where my dad reminisces on his days spent climbing trees and playing in mud. I am from a tiny shack where my dad hid from my grandpa to avoid fists in his face. I am from San Martin de Sula, municipio de Ocotlán, Jalisco, Mexico, where my grandparents spent nights celebrating at the fiestas. I am from a town where my mom was sent to when she was my age, where she became a woman before she could be a kid. I am from Pizza Hut, where my dad begged for the attention of my mom. I am my grandparents' pride and joy, although my tongue does not speak the same language as theirs. I forgive their broken English, but I never excuse my broken Spanish, because how can I be Hispanic like them if I cannot hold on to their language? I eat the food they spend hours making, seasoning it with spices and herbs written in Spanish, measuring them with their hearts because they just know. I'm from a street where we greet our neighbors with buenos dias or hola. I'm from a neighborhood where kids run around at the local park and outreach programs canvass the areas, hoping to keep those same kids from the streets. Where I live, trains shake my house and blast their loud noises through my window. Sometimes I confuse those trains for earthquakes. I'm from a neighborhood where parties last through the night, blasting Spanish lyrics to dance in the air around them. They changed our name to South LA to pretend we don't exist. I Americanized the blood my Hispanic grandparents and Hispanic parents sacrificed to chase the American dream over the border. I am their chance at a new future, but every dream comes with a cost because you can't expect to cross the bridge without paying the toll. My parents, they take advantage of the system, but the system takes advantage of me. Because I come from a long line of high school dropouts, I'm expected to prove my worth, to prove I am not another statistic, even though the world is waiting for me to be. I'm expected to break the cycle of addiction in my family, even though I'm from a neighborhood where people assume I already am. Because I come from a family where I am the eldest girl, therefore I'm expected to be perfect, or else I face consequences my brother never had to worry about. My tan complexion cannot hide from the prejudice the same way my sisters can. Because I'm from my father's brown skin who got used to the burning sun. Because I come from my mother's father who always makes me bean burritos for me before he goes to dialysis. Where I am from, I am not just a kid. Thank you.
Yes. Wow. Just amazing, Jasmine. And I'm seeing in our chat on our Zoom, we're talking about first generation daughters rise up. So very relatable. And now we're going to move on to our next poet, Alyssa Ho. Alyssa Ho has been a research intern at Stanford, Caltech, and UC Irvine, and is the founder of her nonprofit Full Steam Ahead that provides STEM opportunities to girls. So Alyssa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'll be reading a poem titled Jaded. Half the size of my thumb, a Buddha pendant lies on the waves of my shirt as it folds and wrinkles while I pass through my days so quickly. I can't believe how many years she's been away. The necklace belonged to my great-grandmother, who fled the communist revolution, to some the war of liberation, but all in all, her own persecution. So she sailed all this way, and this is the part where I could say how this pendant's been passed through generations, this sacred artifact of pure jade that reminds us all of the path she paved, the American life she made. But that is simply not the truth. Rather, this necklace is worth $2. The jade is probably fake. No one cared for the sacrifices she made, so when she passed away, my family thought keeping it would be a mistake. They said even though she's dead, she would live on in our hearts instead. But I was very young then, didn't understand a word that was said, who was dead. All I can remember is I put that necklace over my head just because I thought it'd bring me luck. And that's how I viewed it all this time. Just a charm to keep me from harm, not caring about the ancestor who wore it before, or how it carried her faith in the etchings of Buddha's palm. But all that changed in just this past year, when I realized for the first time what it was like to have fear to go outside, even with a mask, my black hair and thin eyes giving away my disguise. I was suddenly aware of everyone's stares. The word Asian and Asian American boldened more than ever before. You see, I grew up spoiled on American soil, had no trouble believing I belonged, thinking I'd never be wronged because of my race. But I've learned that that just isn't the case. That even though I've personally been safe from hate, I realized I can no longer stand idle in this debate. The pendant I wear proves my place here, proves my great-grandmother's faith brought us here. And although I do not share her faith, we share this necklace, a reminder that my culture is not a piece of luck or worth $2, but a statement that we are not complacent with the treatment of our people. For hate is the virus that's been here much longer. It affected my great-grandmother. So don't you longer expect that with each new crisis and bias for me to stay in silence. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alyssa. That was wonderful. I think really, I think a lot of our poets here are thinking about like our generational sacrifices that were made for us, and then revisiting and making sure that we're not complacent and moving into the future. So powerful. Thank you so much. Our next poet is Hyla Atame. Hyla Atame is a martial artist, Right Girl mentee, and a volunteer for the American Cancer Society. So I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Arlene, and thank you to all the poets who will go after me and who went before me. That was beautiful. The poem I'm reading today is entitled Endole. Boom, boom, a clap of thunder. We're leaving the African store in Tampa, heading home where grandma waits, watching Nigerian films, even though we're Cameroonian. Drip, drop, downpour follows. I take it as a sign we, my sister and I, are meant to cook on this day a meal from our fatherland. I think of palm trees, waterfalls, conversations in Bassa, markings of a country I have yet to touch and that colonizers of the past failed to understand. We come home and find grandma at the kitchen counter. Cooking commences. Click, click. My sister's acrylics tap against the countertop. Chop, chop. I cut the onions. Tisk, tisk. The onions are too big, she tells me. I chop, chop again. Dad stands in the corner with his arms crossed and a smirk on his face. You're doing it wrong, he says. She waves him away like he's a seabird. Mine is better, he insists. We tell him to leave the kitchen. He doesn't. On the stove, the plantains are boiling, the tomato paste is in one pan, while the bitter leaf is sizzling in the other, and the shrimp is mixed with the celery and onion. The kitchen has become a melody of savory scents, and when I sniff, my mouth waters. Grandma nods. It's time. My sister and I watch in shock as all the contents on the stove are dumped into the biggest pot, then stirred by grandma. We share a look of unease. Our weak Western palates are accustomed to the separation of food. As I help myself to a modest serving, I say that I will like it because it's endole, the national meal, what burgers and apple pie are to America. Grandma can tell that the meal isn't hitting the spot. I feel like an imposter, like this culture I was born into isn't mine, that I'm not worthy. All that matters to me, my grandma says, is that my grandkids have tried the food of their father's country. That's what makes me happy. I wrap my arms around her, clinging to her as if I'm a boat and she's the anchor. I can feel the energy of love transferring from her to me as warmth. I want to cry, but I don't. The sky is weeping for me as the rain continues outside the window, adding moisture to the swamplands, just as it does to the tropical landscapes of Cameroon. Drip, drop. Though I may be an ocean away from my fatherland, the tether between us is deeper than distance and endole. Thank you.
Thank you, Hyla. Such a beautiful poem, and makes me want to call my grandma now. So thank you so much. We're going to move to our next poet now, Delilah Broomer. Delilah Broomer wrote a letter to VP Harris that was published by the Washington Post, is a Scholastic Gold Key winner, and has numerous journalism awards. So without further ado, Delilah, take it away.
Thank you so much. So my poem is called The Song of Starvation. Beauty is a melody, a tale written in warm blood, running away from its creator. Each sound, a universe of shattered pieces, shimmering glass that only shines at night. To achieve perfection was an imperfect endeavor. For the smaller I got, the louder the music became. I wasn't attempting to be gorgeous. I was trying to become what others envy so that I would no longer envy others. The instruments of the song, The worried looks, the concerned words fluttering out of mouths, were the gliding strokes of the conductor's frail hands. Disapproval was only assurance that I was an excellent musician. The music ended a year ago. It faded away like a snowflake on a not-so-sunny day. However, the symphony is always there. It is simply waiting for an audience.
Yay. Thank you so much, Delilah. That was amazing. Loved that ending. We're going to move to our next poet now, Anusha Shayegan. Anusha Shayegan has won multiple awards and the regional gold medal from the Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards, and has been part of student diversity leadership and school choir. So without further ado, I turn it over to you, Anusha.
Thank you so much. The poem I'll be reading is Nullity. I am an enigma, neither white nor black, from parents whose country is called so many names. Bombers, they say, until the crust of their mouths dry away, scream and hate flow in my brain, calling for my plea. I fall to my knees, saying my prayers. They laugh perniciously. I am lesser, nothing to them. Why do I tremble? I am abhorrent, different with these lies. I'm not a person, just a thing they can throw against the wall, to break, to shatter, just an afterthought. Soon, I change, I embrace who I am. I creep away from my cage, my hand still chained, just a shadow crawling. I climb my way to the ones I call family, but they too turn their backs. I have never faced their laceration, but my wound still cut. My people, the dolls and other games playing the part of the devil, names and titles we earn from showing a shade of our soul. Soon we are shrieking cries of forgiveness, our eyes wide yearning for the taste of sleep, so we might survive another day. Our tiredness is insanity. The sounds of trumpets playing second after second, destroying, suitor draining from our heads, forming a web around our God-forsaken eyes. Our nest burned to the ground till ashes become our pillows. Yet we still have to pay till every drop of our blood is taken. No, I am not like them. I'm a picture on a wall, separated from all. I can neither be black nor white, for now I am nullity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for reading such an amazing and powerful poem. So much imagery that really hit home. So we are going to turn it over to our last poet of this round, Audrey Shioing. Audrey Shioing is a Young Writers Project community leader, a Right Girl mentee, and campus environmentalist who is also a golfer. Turning it over to you, Audrey.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to say to all of the poets who have already read and everyone who is going to read, so much respect. Yeah, your poems are so beautiful. So I'll be reading my poem, Melodic Peculiarities and Me. We are not any color. We are flushes of feverish chills and fleshy goosebumps that make us bigger, weaker than we'd ever dream to be. Playlists are my rock collections, an old egg carton weighed down by the memories that often sink to the bottoms of pools. Clear quartz belting is for the gifted, married malachite, freedom found 5 rings too deep. Amethyst geode for my sister's birth, dancing is for the brave, whose bellies can stomach 1,000 crystal daggers, a dartboard for the precise and the careless. I rub the stones in their cool confidence on my fear until we are all sweaty and they slip from my palms, my voice skittering across the linoleum. I pick up every dissonant note and carry them in my cheeks until midnight slap my skin until it does not hurt, sitting up in bed in my pitiful puddles of regret until the slick echoing marbles are swallowed back again, passing from tongue to throat to belly before morn, define punishment. I've learned recently that nightmares can manifest. I guard a happiness until it begins to disfigure under the weight of the skipping stones in my pockets, my armor, and turn up Spotify until I can't hear them see me. I sing, and it is not ugly or beautiful enough to pay any mind to. silent. And yet the ones I have loved, love, and will love are here in this void, giving the shapes of my lips a body, a playlist with lost stars and high hopes, a flimsy cardboard carton with solid opacities, and a dark karaoke room illuminated only by wayward skies and lopsided sunsets. Press the lavender, water the amaryllis, regrow green onions by my window. But I fall asleep to the smell of chrysanthemum tea, a home for the mud-smudged melodic peculiarities and me. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Audrey. That was amazing. Such great imagery. And also dancing is for the brave. I agree. I'm a horrible dancer, but I am bringing up the energy to get ready to welcome our featured performer today. So thank you so much to our first round of poets who, really shared everything that they had. And then we'll have our second round come after our featured poet. So please join me in welcoming our featured performer, Roya Marsh. Bronx, New York native, Roya Marsh is a nationally recognized poet, performer, educator, and activist. She is the author of Daylight and works feverishly towards LGBTQIA+ justice and dismantling white supremacy. Roya is the co-founder of the Bronx Poet Laureate Initiative, a PEN America Emerging Voices mentor, and the awardee of the 2021 Lotus Foundation Prize for Poetry. Find out more and help to support Black futures at blackjoy.com. That's BLKJOY.com. So without further ado, Roya, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to all of the poets that will be performing today. You are all incredible, and I'm so excited to hear your work. It is the night after the election, and I don't smile. I lie, awake, wondering what kind of ancestor I will be. I, the child of a hard father that only wanted soft daughters, learned to make a perfect fist on my own. I learned to swing by watching, by feeling. I bark like the dogs do, loud and in the face of danger, gnash my teeth and secure all things vital. I learned to fight before I learned to speak. My hands grew into grenades. I learned I hold the pen tight, learned to explode only when necessary, learned. Though I'm always at war, not every room is a battlefield. I shout Black joy across the world. And folks with smiles, the smell of green bean casserole, praise me for not being angry. Angry, the definition, is having a strong feeling of or showing annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. Well, I've been angry. My fists have painted holes into walls. I was 14 the first time I stomped a man's face into mashed potatoes. I used to pray to a God who would not come home, a Black butch with a slick tongue and a hunger for freedom. I am the kind of sorry no one teaches us to forgive. I say Black joy, they hear shuck and jive, think me palatable, a good Black. Well, nah, this ain't what enlightenment looks like. I got a backpack full of screw ups and screw yous, and there came a point where tears were no longer able to cleanse. And there are still days that I want out, but I am no better if I only save myself. And right now, there are people lining the floors of arenas, awaiting to hear me tell them that losing is at capacity. So guess we going to win. Someone gave me a pen and I wrote a spine into a sack of skin. Imagine me not angry, explaining to white folks that anti-racism ain't hashtagging or posting a Black box not big enough to fit my last breath, or raising me up by their white guilt straps. Anti-racism means that you are willing to die for my kind of Black that built the country you wrote me out of. What good is writing poems to my unborn when I have nieces and nephews? They are shutting down one prison to build 4 and got a bunk with our last name on it. They are waiting for us to forget we are chosen. And while I'm God's daughter, my godson's father is locked in a cage. So no, I don't write metaphors about caskets or burials, just another way for the world to hold us hostage. Tell the dead I am still here. Tell the here I am still fighting. I lived and learned to walk on the seas beneath and between us, and the ship is sinking, but I'm teaching us to swim, to wade in the war zone, where our joy endangers us buying groceries, playing video games, enjoying ice cream in a bed, in a backyard, in a parking lot, on a wine train. The men and my family are still breathing, and that is a crime. The women and my family are still reproducing, and that is a crime. So I say we gonna make it. Someday we'll all be free. Be real Black for me, all right? And it sounds like I'm talking to God on repeat. I was born Black and woman and American. Bitterness beckons, inspired by my mere existence, born waiting for the land of the free to bust a capitalist in my head. And you think me being angry is the problem. I say Black joy, and I mean I forgive my father. I mean F the police. I mean dismantle white supremacy. I mean I was zip-tied one night, kettled on the Manhattan Bridge the next, and still live to teach your kids in the morning. I am everything America threatens to break, and the threat and the break, and America itself. What I'm saying is no, I'm not angry. I'm coming. I say Black joy, and I mean, who are you when I start taking what I am owed? We've been hurt, been down before. When our pride was low, looking at the world like, where do we go? And we hate po-po. They want to kill us dead in the streets for sure. I'm at the preacher's door. My knees get weak and my gun might blow, but we gonna be all right. My name is Roya Marsh, and I am a Black poet who will not remain silent while this nation continues to murder Black people. I have a right to be angry. I have a right to be joyful. And Black joy is real. It's native. It's not white. It was here before that. Before God said, let there be light, so they could witness a glimpse of what they've been missing. Black is not a color, but absorbs all the colors of the visible spectrum and reflects none. Joy is a feeling of great pleasure or happiness. Black joy looks like me, like him, or her, or them. It knows no gender, just knows prosperity in spite of white supremacy. Black joy is a stone worthy of digging, of excavating, a coveted jewel to be held up to light, to sparkle, to dazzle. Black joy knows this poem is necessary no matter what their judgment says, because they can't tell me Black joy won't break any scale they put it on shit. They can't tell me Black joy ain't the scale itself. Black joy is contagious, so contagious, folks got caught appropriating, caught pinning Black against Black, joy against joy, Remy against Nikki, Cardi against Nikki, Ree against B, because healthy, wealthy Black folks just got too close to God, and they only want to see us Black and joyous if they made us that way. But they cannot create Black joy the same way they created race. They cannot dictate our Blackness. They cannot dictate our happiness. And yeah, it's true. Once you go Black joy, you'll never go back. Ask the Kardashians, those Black holes. Make a staple of Black joy. Remember, Black and happiness can be synonymous. So whenever you hear the word Black, instead hear joy. Case in point. In 2016, we bid farewell to this nation's first happy president. February will now and forever be known as Happy History Month. Hollywood still won't cast happy people to play our happy selves, and yet another happy body is found slain. All the more reason to preserve this shield, this force field of fortune. No hot commodity to be bought or bootlegged or Kylie lip kit, backshot, brainwashed. Be your happiest when your mouth is open. Be your Blackest when your mouth is open. Shout it at the Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate Commencement. Shout Black, shout joy. You remember, white supremacy is a beast that feeds on attention. Be happier. Be hungrier, starve it, leave it nothing but the bones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roya, for gracing our virtual stage. We're so privileged and honored to have you here. And I think, wow, such a powerful poem. Tell the dead I'm still here, and tell the here I'm still fighting. Our fight is far from over. And it's beyond, like what you were saying, Instagram posts. So actively dismantling white supremacy is what we all need to be pushing for, especially in this community. So thank you so much. We are now going to move on to our second round of poets. So first off, I am so happy to welcome Felicity Phelan. Felicity Phelan is a Young Arts winner and participant in Get Lit's Classic Slam, as well as the leader of her school's Gender and Sexuality Awareness Club. Felicity, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Arlene. Thank you so much, Roya. That took my breath away, and thank you, everyone else. My poem is titled Scab Picking. Every time I think I've gotten over Vietnam, its corpse reanimates. breaks ground in the neat rows of the veteran graveyard, heaves up onto the grass like a beached and blighted whale, waterlogged, bloated, riddled with bullets. It begins to follow me around, crunching on a mixture of shrimp chips and tongue. It was my seat partner last year in US history. We watched interviews with old soldiers, and I tried to, really tried to feel sorry you were brainwashed into viewing me as an animal. Vietnam leaned over. I smelled the blood on its breath lingering like durian. It said, "You ever wonder what made it so easy in the first place?" Yes, I'm a communist, but I don't have to be to know this, that before you take the cities or the war brides or the irrigated plains of the Mekong Delta, you smelt our personhood in the forge of democracy. Reform us. A slogan, a slur, a gold tooth in the mouth of your military history. I don't like Vietnam. We just have an alliance against men who can't pronounce the countries they've bombed, against people who would thrust a machete into my hands, carve, get over it, into the blade, demand I cut down the jungle inside me. I don't like Vietnam. I just need a witness. For when I kneel at the throne of some great Western god, or some clean-cut Marine, or a grenade that's been exploding since 1955, perhaps all three are the same, a witness. For when I disembowel myself of insurrection and nationhood, grip Americana with gratitude, hold out art and mind in a hand bronzed, and call me and feral, a hand dripping, still dripping in what the Kennedys will assure you is just monsoon water. I push Vietnam aside for the moment. I smile. I say thank you for your service. I punch the discount into the register and pretend there are no children watching. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Felicity. Such a powerful piece and powerful delivery. Yes, no words. So I'm going to bring up our next poet now, Jessica Kim. Jessica Kim has won awards for poetry from Columbia College Chicago, Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards, and National Poetry Quarterly, and also non-writing awards from Hobie Youth Leadership Conference, Global Peace and Resilience Fund, and the Singapore Math Olympiad. Without further ado, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Arlene, and everyone who's here today. I'll be reading my poem titled Ghazal for Kay. Late last summer, Harmony visited California, bone-dried and thinned like seaweed on the kitchen counter. She asks why I have not thinned, fattened instead like a whale ready for slaughter, and blames the grease on Biguk food. I want to tell her I am not American, hunger thinned into the back of my tongue and unreceptive to the stench of modernity. The only word I remember in Korean is 시장, hunger, oceans thinned by extinction, a harbor split by upturned boats, famine kneeling in front of our bruised mouths. Harmony says 시장 also means market, thinned aisles of canned tuna and fake kimchi, the commodities of my past I want forgotten. What remains of my weekly allowance, I squander on thinned cityscape portraits and white pearl necklaces. Maybe this is why Harmony mistakes me for an American girl, future Hollywood star, foolish, thinned with dreams about dead origin stories. Yesterday, it was about a father aspiring to be a mayor, also 시장, Today, it turns into an elegy for my father, thinned white hairs as trench lines in warfare. Harmony reminds me of the Korean wars I have not lived through, dynasties wrecked by bullets, history thinned inside the barrel of a rifle. The summer before my father's death, Harmony swapped his body with an aircraft, propelled it towards the Pacific thinned waves, escaping westward. Midway, shipwrecks invaded his body, so I learned to spill his ashes into Californian seabeds before I had ever known the thinned calluses of his hands. This summer, Harmony moves back to Korea, says loss is too foreign to her. Alone, I unlearn 전쟁, war, the memories thinning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. That was incredible. I'm getting ready now to bring up our next poet, Sasha Rotko. Sasha Rotko is a Right Girl mentee and president of her school's debate club, feminist literature club, and youth activism club. So without further ado, Sasha.
This is called A Hypnosis I Welcomed and a Martyr I Shunned. I used to pray to the sea, to the sun god, to the deist divinities I always found more plausible than whatever stories you taught me. The thing about stories is, the good ones are always the ones you know could happen today, or tomorrow, or to you. The thing about stories is, even the ones cocooned in magic or bloodshed are always real when you strip them down. When you undress the words, the thoughts, the characters, it boils down to a person who makes a choice and pays for it. Religion is a story. Religion is a person who makes a choice and pays for it. Religion will tell you your fly is undone, but will also gush, politely of course, about the genius of your artwork she visited last weekend at the Gallery of Humanity. Religion is that friend you adore endlessly, the one you always yearn to have lunch with, but every time you remember to schedule plans, she says, I'm busy. Religion always told you no very straightly instead of ever saying yes and not following through. Religion is the one with those perfect pearly teeth and eyes whatever color they appear that day that remind you of the ocean even if they are not blue. For the ocean is more than an image but a cadenced tune. Religion is the one who is perfectly imperfect. Religion is the one who wears cannonballs as earrings just in case. Religion is your friend who laughs at everything you say because you are funny, you hope. So you make a joke and then only smiles bitterly when you do. Religion is the thoughts roaring in your mind as you do something you know you'll regret the next day with the lip busted open and a fine to pay that's not monetary, because to religion, life and sacrifice are the only currencies. I used to pray beneath a sky of hazy poppies every afternoon, watching religion set the sun because she can do anything she sets her mind to. I used to pray. She was a pocket watch on a golden chain swinging back and forth in front of mine, eyes waiting for me to pledge my allegiance to her cult of happiness and tragedy and love. I used to pray. Religion were those words on my tongue I knew I shouldn't say, but I did anyway, because mistakes appealed more to me than perfection. I used to pray. She was truth. Whether or not she was real, she was humanity, embodied by myths and legends that stood the test of time, because even if they did not happen, they were true. I used to pray. I don't pray anymore. Do you see why? See, the pillars of excellence that hold up the ultimate embodiment of greatness hold up all the things I once hated because they were so perfect. But there is one thing about religion I have not told you yet. Religion is you. Religion is him over there in the purple sweater and leather pants too tight. Religion is the baby on the stage who hasn't seen more than a year of human life. Religion is us. Religion is me. I will not pray to religion. I refuse. She is only a person who made a choice and will pay for it. But aren't you? One day on Cricket Lane, a woman named Miss Crochet says to me, do I recognize you from somewhere, or am I crazy? And I say, no, you're crazy, in a joking tone, because I cannot bear, and she knows this, to say what we're both thinking. Of course she recognizes me. I'm religion, so is she. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sasha, for such a beautiful piece. All right, so our next poet up will be Turandot Shayagan. Turandot Shayagan was a finalist for the Get Lit Classic Slam, and she founded an after-school arts organization called Inkshed, and she speaks English, French, Spanish, and Persian. I turn the floor over to you, Turandot.
Thank you so much, Arlene.
My poem is called Feminism as Described by the Mating Habits of Grasshoppers and Crickets. Grasshopper, I will build like bastard cricket, bone like bastard. I will puncture like chitin new lungs. I will mold like grass unchristened. I will baptize with a sterile hop, childish gidap, mother and father intertwined like the opposite of a bastard and a cricket and a building. I will tell of motherhood. She circumcises hood, flinching into mother, raw mother, like circulation. Matriarch to upstart arch, like foreskin semicircle fatherhood, like landing on her back, backlist. If unlanded, he waits for her to curl abdomen, like offering. He sits for day, but night. No unwelcome house guest. He self-trumpeted before backs were more or less or nothing. Yes, yes, he stridulated with body folded into body as if to say, there are two of me. Two, he mounts. Two, he sits for day like asking to keep his blood unwiped by other hand. Two, she is no longer mother. She is a sphere for sphere like sperm. It is a sack and sacked. She is a mountain. She is a carrier. She is apostle. Together, it is exoskeleton upon exoskeleton, the smelting of which is judge and jury, but unholy still. Not unlike the thrashing of a cricket, goddess or bastard, she mounts like brutality. She is barbarian. She is the mounter. She is the mountaineer. She is no penny hop. She is back and forth for hour, neither day nor night. She is one and only one before she prunes the sperm inside of her and slides it down her gullet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. For our next poet, we have Hannah Sadi Klein. Hannah Sadi Klein is a Governor's Medallion California Arts Scholar winner and participates in programs by both 826 LA and Right Girl. I turn the floor to you, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Arlene, and thank you to all the poets here. You all are amazing. So I'm going to read two small excerpts from a collection of poems I'm currently working on, entitled Daydreams in a Faraway Land, Night Dreams Staring at the Ceiling. Daydream 1. A poem for Caesar, Houdini, and Moses. Above the crevice in the throat lies my chin, tilted west of sunsets and regrets. The fiddler sawing in my ear, a mosquito I can't pinch between my thumb, and an index full of words never exchanged between leopards' tongues. He forgot to tug my earlobe, scared me half to death, the silence of his steps on the grass carpet. Oh, Caesar, Houdini, and Moses, at least one of you can dig a trench, wear a top hat, and be stabbed to death for a ribbon. Surprise me like ripping hairs and scabs with a Band-Aid. I'll paste duct tape over your mouth and pretend I can understand. Feed you a teaspoon of the blue raspberry syrup you gave me last week. It's too bad karma's contagious, or else I would have saved you the trip of unzipping my lips, untying my waist, pulling my ankles over my head. Never have I ever been placed in a glass box, a Tantalus box, a wave away. The mantle of the earth at my fingertips, the urn of my body wobbling. Night Dream 1, a poem for the lights of the city. There is something whimsical about folding boats out of tissue paper, knowing they will never float. There is something comforting about being pressed against a wall, the space between the small of my back, praying for the warmth of a hand to rest in its valley. There is something lost the more you repeat my name. I am looking up at your apple, crunching in the evening after dinner, and still you don't feel my breath on your throat. When will I have to stop holding a knife at the door whenever the gate creaks? I've told you I love you, washing dishes in my head. I feel your shadow cling to my flesh, catching a glimpse of my own, escaping with the dusk. You know I can cheat on you in my mind. It's just as easy as telling you I love the cider dribbling down your chin, the receipt you dropped in my lap, proving you could pay for my dinner. All I ever wished for was that warmth, the feather, the flame sheltered in the canyon of my back, that even wind could never blow away. The lights of the city wavering as we both look through the same window, feeling higher, feeling lower. We could never agree which.
Wow, thank you so much, Hannah. That was amazing. Great job. All right, so now we're going to move on to our next poet, Salome Agbaroji. Salome Agbaroji is her school's student body president, a member of Get Lit, and has been published in the Harvard Review. So take it away.
Okay, thank you. All the poets have been so good so far, and in honor of Juneteenth, I'll be reading my poem, Insomnia. My Nigerian mother says, Galabhan, Salome, go to bed. Fear burrows in the octave low tremolos of her voice, so I cocoon myself away and lay brainless on my back. A tradition that goes back farther than counting sheep. You know, those white cotton clouds in those fields. A ritual receding farther than hairlines and cracking whips. So I reminisce. I let nighttime mist whisper through worn windows, making lava of my floorboards in the form of sleep paralysis, but I will not sleep. I will stay fixed on my clenched fist. Nails carve hieroglyphs into my palms, and I squeeze harder to make sure I still exist, but I will not sleep. I have dreams that a white cop let his gun cock, to the young black boy from a humble block to an ink blot. And I must be a prophet because my dreams keep coming true. You see the bags under my eyes and hand me concealer to disguise it. You expect a prize for having one black friend, while black girls making that walk home in a little black dress at around 10 is an accomplishment. We can't sleep because we're scared of death. You don't sleep and our men don't live past the age of 40 for the same reason, because you are afraid of the dark. Please do not compare your sleep deprivation to mine. You are sleepy and I am 3/5 alive. Ikberam dinala, I pray to God I don't close my eyes. I wouldn't survive the shadows I'd see. Why do you persecute me for laying dormant as the monster under your bed when I'm the one with lungs being crushed under your weight? Your bed built on the broken backs of African empires. Just wait till little Miss Nigeria becomes a big girl and the boogeyman don't scare her. Don't blink, gunshot, blood leaks, lungs shrink. I clench my fists and feel nothing. My tears, crystal constellations on my cheek. My bed now a pool of sweat. Mama didn't know when she came to America that African American and Nigerian blood is the same sweet nectar nicotine for demons. I'm trained by my mother to fight these demons by clenching my fists until the buildup of scar tissue allows me to feel nothing. You have taught us cocoons to fight our demons by counting sheep. I'd be so glad when the sun goes down. I feel so sleepy, but I wanna lie down. Yes, drop your corner, lad. You ain't got your own mind. Yes, drop your corner, lad. You ain't got your own mind.
Wow, thank you so much. When you started singing, chills, and the chat agrees. So we are going to move on to our next poet, Sierra Leone Anderson. Sierra Leone Anderson was a finalist for the Get Lit Grand Slam and was a keynote speaker for the UTLA Conference for Racial and Social Justice and for the International Day of the Girl. So I turn it over to you.
Did not know this was a singing competition. Literally blushing. Everyone here has been so amazing and so powerful that I really, really do hope that you feel proud of yourself, because I'm so proud of you already. This is an excerpt from an untitled poem of mine. I am calling you into action. Every generation, the world gives birth to a new fleet of freedom fighters. I am one of them. I stand on the shoulders of tired women. I dance in the footsteps of Pan-African poets, liberation fighters and Black writers who grew fires from a pit hungrier than a stomach. They call my name, I call theirs. Malcolm X, Phyllis Wheatley, Audre Lorde, Sojourner Truth, Maya Angelou, Ida B. Wells. Your resilience rivers through me. You are my founding fathers, the blueprint to a world we need to be brave enough to see, to seek. Let us imagine a world in which we know each other's palms and never the fist. Not unless needed, not unless united together. Let us be the drum and not the war. Let us know each other's names and not the languages we cry in. Let us be, let all us be, more than a slave's wildest dream. Let us beam past blueprints and what ifs and start becoming the now we want to see, the now we want to be. Trees growing so far past the earth, Allah would mistake our bodies for angels. When I die, I want to ripple through lifetimes. I want my name to graffiti the mouths of the next 10 generations. I don't want to be forgotten or remembered for the way my feet wouldn't stop running. I want to grow roots in this soil, in this American skin. Join the forest of my ancestors. Let my grandkids climb up my branches and tell stories of school. And before the first pulse of morning, I want them to drip from their homes and gather at my roots. I want to tell them my name before I forget it. I want to tell them that morning is coming and will always come and will never wait for when you are ready. I want to tell them that there is a point so far beyond this tree, this forest, this temporary point in time, their bodies, their fears, their fathers, their memories, where the sun is eternal and smiling, where freedom rings and it is never silent, never out of reach. It is called Horizon. And it is here. Thank you so much, Ashe.
Thank you so much for that poem. Wow. It just radiates so much joy and so much hope and love. We are going to move on to our next poet, Nadia Farjami. Nadia Farjami has won numerous scholastic arts and writing medals, has been published in the New York Times, and is the founder of Spreading Literacy and Love. So without further ado, here's Nadia.
Thank you so much. Everyone has been so incredible. Like, I'm just absolutely blown away by everything. So I'm going to be reading my poem called Not Enough. Under the desk, the students hide, blanketing themselves in tears, wet bodies sticking together, cold spines and coughs spilling, shaking. I don't want to die, one of them whispers. His breath is like a cloud of dark smoke rising. It looks like chalk, like dead chalk, like chalk killed and chilled by a gunshot. The walls of this classroom are not enough. Julia brushes Jessie's hair with her fingers and says, "We're going to die today." Her breath tastes of new, unwrapped Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts pulled out of the oven at the perfect moment. "I can't die like this," Jessie says, hugging and tugging. She plays with the plastic ring on her finger and tells Julia about the way her sister was sick and how her parents are going to be empty today. Terry and Ron are on the other side of the classroom, and Ron really has to use the restroom, but teacher says stop, down, watch out. Something sounds like knocks outside the door. Are we going to die? Teacher looks at them, thinks about red dresses and prom and wedding vows and navy caps and things that sixth graders will never be able to taste. Sixth graders. On the news, it will say 26 graders lost today. Please pray. The walls of the television, of the newspaper are not enough. The man has entered. Ron stands up, Jessie cries, Julia throws up, Terry shakes, teacher dies first. All the children have been shot. 26 graders lost today. Please pray. Not enough.
Wow, thank you so much, Nadia, for that poem. We're going to move on to our next poet now, Althea Aguel. Althea Aguel plays 3 instruments and is the president of her school's yarn club and member of the robotics team.
Hello, I just want to say everyone's poem is absolutely amazing. I'm not just saying that, it's so insane. So good job to everyone. Okay, so this is my poem, Papaya Soap. In the womb, I was kissed by the sun. My skin's fluctuating pigment was measured by no more than the strength of how hard I had to squeeze beige crayons for self-portraits. The tempting papaya soap sits at the corner of the shower, like a blind date on a park bench. So much potential, and when it burns, it will show I will be all the more enticing. It's a new chance of Snow White's complexion after hours of lacrosse. Wash me towards pale skin, a model's body, a nose like a Grecian sculpture, domesticity, soft whispers that pass your ear like Gatsby's lover. I stare and stare at the papaya soap. I recall tacky blonde highlights done cheaply after realizing Photoshop could replace me and no one would notice. Bellies round from the carcasses of fauna drenched in sodium sauces and spatula tosses. My throat is a tightrope. Do I lean towards the product of my surroundings or a culture connected by blood, not spirit? I teased my father's H, not H, in kindergarten as we repeated H is for horse. Then I burst out taglish phrases in the comfort of 4 walls. My bones are strengthened by food with no traditional dishes because I chose to refrain from meat. My crushes are confused what a seafood city is. My feet have never touched the land of my ancestry. However, it was nothing but inevitable as I am pulled and pushed. I'm not completely fluent. Pulled and pushed. Happy AAPI month. Pulled and pushed. How can I determine what parts to pick out and what parts to embrace? Am I a product of cultural conformity, or was I meant to be the perfect daughter? I will never know. I stare and stare at the papaya soap, and I bask in the warmth of the intruding sun. I am not either one. I cannot wash away who I am with a soak. I will always be Filipino American, and to think I had to choose was simply a joke.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a powerful piece. Wow, all of the poets who have performed so far have been so phenomenal. I'm so impressed. And we have come down to our final poet of our event, Amelia Pinto. Amelia Pinto is the founder of the LA Youth Climate Action Team, a member of 826 LA, and plays volleyball. So Amelia, I turn the floor to you.
Thank you. Everyone has been so incredible today so far, and your words are just all inspiring to me. The poem I'll be performing today is called Hassan Minhaj Hilarious. I used to be embarrassed of my family's accent. It was thick like honey and milk, sharp and twisted staccato we'd hear in a movie during class, and all eyes would turn towards me, my Asianness pushed deeper down in my pockets. It could have been a documentary on third world countries, or a caricature in an SNL skit, a debate resolution characterizing entire races of people as terrorists, a Punjabi grandmother killed at FedEx in Illinois. And I was taught all these things, but never pride. When you're the child of an immigrant, culture is filtered through 8,711 miles. It's shifted and translated and torn up in pieces for you to pick up and put together. When you're the child of an immigrant, sometimes you forget that amongst the white suburbs and wealthy friends, your identity doesn't always fit in. A friend once told me, Indians are funny. I held my breath for a moment, begging his reasoning to be Hassan Minhaj funny and not The Simpsons Apu funny. And instead, he plays a video of an exaggerated accent, loud and abrasive. I already know it's a Bollywood villain, but if I told him, it wouldn't make any difference. He hasn't had enough conversations with my dad to remember his voice, to remember his native language, carefully wrapped with the saris in suitcases, the biryani on the stove, or my Indian middle name. Because even if I took him on a trip, brought him to our village, harvested the mangoes and fried the fish, he couldn't get past the introductions without judging. The first time I got called a slur, it was chalked up to a joke. Model minority honeyed lies, it stung in my chest, pulled at my thick hair, whispered to my large eyes how I wasn't welcome here. My chai and too much milk skin swirled, you're not Indian enough to be offended. It's almost comedic how much the mood shifts when you become enough, when 16 years in the making of a mixed family and abandoned bilingual classes stop becoming measurements of your identity, worth conflated with credibility. The poems I wrote in class taught India not by its cows and curry, but through the history, hate crimes, and hearth. And for a moment, I'm pronouncing the cities and foods with a little more sharpness, a sing-song pitch of someone that craves to be listened to, each word rolled like roti and thick like honey in milk, sewing together the pieces of culture for something permanently treasurable. Because I happen to be Hassan Minhaj Hilarious. It doesn't require me to mimic my uncles. I just need someone to hear my story. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of the poets who performed today. Everything has been just so amazing and inspiring and powerful. These poets come from a number of incredible organizations from across the city, including Get Lit, Right Girl, and 826 LA. So please be sure to support their work. Before we announce the winners, I'd like to welcome back our host and 2020 LA Youth Poet Laureate to share a poem with us. Please join me in welcoming back Arlene Campa.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I second that. All these poets have been so phenomenal and so amazing. So support the young artists in your life, whether that's, buying their chapbook or asking them if they need a ride to the next open mic or asking them how they're doing. I think, we are also impacted by everybody who has helped us in our artistic process. So I know we appreciate all the support we can get. So the poem that I will be reading to you today has a little bit of a story. So we're all young writers, everybody that you've seen read today, including myself. And so I remember showing some poems to somebody and them saying, wow, I'm so glad that your work isn't juvenilia. And so juvenilia is the work produced by an artist when they're young, whether that's a musician, a writer, a painter, whatever their practice may be. And so I thought, no, wait a minute. I am a young person producing work. And being young doesn't inherently mean that my work is less than what the work I'm going to produce when I'm 50 or anything like that. So I thought about the way that I write and the things that I love. And so without further ado, this is on juvenilia. Every night, I peel back an apple scratch and sniff sticker and make an olfactory wish, impetuously imagining my poem will still sing my sound in their sibilants centuries and seas from now. Girl turned jigsaw ghost, I kiss the clock and rearrange my calico critters in height order. Blasting Bad Bunny, I am song-strung. I wonder if my poems will be an old picture that is undeniably me. The one my mom shows to a new friend who will hold it up and ask emphatically, does this still hold your reflection? On juvenilia, I will peel my shame in one long tangerine rind and eat my economics textbook. I am not afraid to tell my lipstick and glitter and gaudy rings, I love you, I love you, I love you, and my heart gabbles back. I am a profusion of things I cannot yet name, but still yearn to try. Thank you so much. We will now move into naming our top 3. So before we go into that, again, the work that has been produced and shared today has been amazing. Congratulations to you all. It's such a huge achievement to be here. So I will be announcing our top 3. For our second runner-up, we have Felicity Phelan. For our first runner-up, we have Salome Agbaroji. And for a round of applause, virtual round of applause, this is me signing an ASL. And for our 2021 Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate, I'm so pleased to welcome Jessica Kim. Thank you so much, everyone. Jessica, if you would like to say a few words.
Oh my God, I'm like so surprised and I really don't have anything to say right now because this is my first time applying and I'm so excited and honored to be given this opportunity. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Yay! Thank you so much, Jessica. And if all of our poets want to join us in celebrating our new Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate and in celebrating yourselves, you are all phenomenal poets. I encourage you to keep applying and keep writing and keep doing what you're doing. So congratulations on everything you've done today. Awesome. So without further ado, thank you so much to the Los Angeles Public Library, to Urban Word, and to all the poets and everybody watching here today. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your Saturday.